I'm okay, I'm muted now. I just want to make sure that what they see.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for your patience. My name is Mark Salzer. I'm the Director of Technology for the school district. I want to welcome everybody that's viewing either live or in the recording to our Community Technology Support webinar. Want to alert you that there are a couple of links for those that are interested to the slide deck that you'll be viewing, that we'll be reviewing with you down below, links.pccs-k12.com/CTSW20. And also there are links if you want, there's a link if you want to submit questions for us to field. So please feel free to browse over to links.pccs-k12.com/questions, provide your name, and then let us know if you have some questions regarding technology in the district.
And
Today,
actually, can I interrupt? I'm sorry. I would just emphasize, we are going to go through, Mark will actually discuss the topics that we're going to discuss, but we really want to emphasize that those questions. So I'll let him speak more to it on the next slide, but I just wanted to highlight that for everyone.
thank you, Andrew. So the next slide just gives a brief overview of how we're going to be covering things. We're going to be looking at the applications that our students in the district use, especially during this time of remote learning. There will be afterwards a question and answer session where we'll field your questions and try to give responses. And again, you can use the links below that they're showing rather to help navigate to either the slides that we're presenting or to submit questions. Today's session we'll have 4 presenters. I'm Mark Salzer, as mentioned. You heard just a moment ago from Andrew Steinman, my associate director, our associate director. And then there are 2 integration specialists that the district has that support our community, Rick Coughlin and Matt Smoot. And you'll hear from both of them as well. Next slide. We're going to go through a number of the common applications that we are expecting our students to be able to navigate. We want to expose you and field questions regarding them. In particular, Google, which is our app suite, Canvas, which is our learning management system, Zoom, which is our video conferencing tool, Clever, which is a portal into a number of web services and digital subscriptions. And then we're going to touch upon ways that you can do some troubleshooting on your own if you have some issues. And then, as mentioned, a question and answer period.
All right, so first we want to talk about So first we want to discuss your student's district Google accounts. So this is really the portal that students will use to access many different educational applications that we offer through Plymouth Canton Community Schools. And you all are probably pretty familiar with how to log into a Google account, but we still have an image there. If you just go to any Google app, just like google.com, you'll see a sign-in button at the top right-hand side of the page. You click that sign-in button, enter in your student's email address, the full email address. We know we've seen some families that try to log in with just the first part. We want to make sure we have not just the username portion, but the full email that includes the @pccs-k12.com, and then log in with your student's password. If you are not familiar with your student's login credentials, you can find those on Parent Portal, and you'll look in your student's profile and be able to see it under network information. Once students log in, you'll be able to see a variety of things. But before we get into that, I want to emphasize that when you have students log into Google, we think it's really important that students only be logged into their district Google account. Because we use Google to access many other applications, we know that it can cause problems if the student is logged into multiple Google accounts at the same time. So we suggest that students log out of all other Google accounts before logging into their district Google account and then accessing other educational applications. And I also wanted to highlight on this slide too that we have the sign in with Google button. because for many of the applications that we're going to share today, there is a sign in with Google option that's provided. So if you go directly to that application, if you see the sign in with Google option, we suggest that students select that and then select their district Google account. And as I mentioned previously, there's many different applications that students can access. And they can access those by going directly to the website of another application and signing in with Google, as I mentioned before. But they can also access these many of the educational applications through the Google Apps Launcher, which some people call the Google Waffle, partially because if you look at the screenshot that we have here, it kind of looks like a waffle. It's a large square made up of 9 smaller squares. And when you click on that, you have access to many different Google applications and also other educational applications that we've connected with Google. So on the right-hand side of my screen, I am sharing what my Google Apps Launcher looks like for the district applications that we have access to. And so you can see there's some here that we've already talked about and we'll be discussing in more detail later, including Canvas and Zoom. One thing I do want to mention too is sometimes students won't see these apps in the Google Apps Launcher. So, and this is actually more of a recent development to my knowledge, where this will disappear for a short moment of time. And if you ever run into that, what we suggest is first, number one, make sure that the student's logged into their district Google account. If they're logged into another Google account, they will not see all these educational applications. If you've confirmed that your student is logged into the correct Google account, we suggest then going to the Google Apps dashboard. And if you're looking at my screen, you're able to see that this is a hyperlink to the Google Apps dashboard. If you want to be able to access that link, you'll see there's a link to this slide deck towards the end. You saw it at the beginning, but you'll see it again towards the end of this slide deck. So we encourage you to go to that link to access this specific slide deck and be able to access all the links that we are sharing, including this Google Apps dashboard. All right, and with that, I'm going to pass things on to Matt Smoot to talk to you about Canvas.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matt Smoot. I am a technology integration specialist with the district. And today I'm going to be talking to you about our K-12 district learning management system, Canvas. It was identified in the spring that the district have a kind of a one-stop shop where both families and kids can go for assignments, for messaging and communications, and having one singular platform. After demoing many different platforms, we decided to use Canvas LMS. There are a couple of different ways that students can access Canvas. One is by going to canvas.p-c-c-s-k12.com. Another way is going to the Google Apps Launcher that Andrew had mentioned earlier. There is also a Canvas student app that can be available for both iOS and Android devices and searched in the App Store. Next slide, please. One of the nice things about Canvas is its comprehensive organization with families. Families will be able to access their child's Canvas course by either, again, through the website, canvas.p-c-c-s-k12.com, or you can download the Canvas parent app, again, through an iOS or Android device. Parents or guardians are seen as observers. As an observer, you are able to see grades, you are able to see assignments, what's being assigned in the class, and we have some screenshots in the next slide that will go over that. You also have the ability to communicate with the teachers of that course. For step-by-step directions on how to access the Observer account, you can go to the bit.ly site located on this slide deck. When coming into Canvas for the first time, you'll be brought into a Canvas dashboard. You'll notice on the left-hand side, you'll see a calendar, an inbox. You'll also see the different courses that your child is enrolled in. And then on the right-hand side, you have a to-do list for assignments and quizzes that are for the coming week. And then you have on the bottom, you have an assignments and due dates for what's coming up the next week. So you can kind of see from each of your students what they have assigned to them at all times. When going into an actual Canvas, you'll notice on the left-hand side, there's different links where your students can go to. We have integrated Zoom into our Canvas, so when students click on Zoom in Canvas, that's how they'll get the live instruction. This is how they access assignments, including Google assignments, submitting PDFs, however the teacher is assigning work to the student. I also want to call out the notification preferences that you have as a parent by clicking on account in your Canvas page. And by clicking on notifications, you'll see there's different preferences you can have on what you receive for notifications. This can be through push notifications if you have the app, or through the inbox, or connecting your email. You have different disseminated options for notifications, including being notified right away, getting daily summaries, sending a weekly summary, or not getting any notifications on a particular item. Lastly, we have the inbox. This is how communications is occurring in Canvas. So as a parent, you can click on the inbox in the global navigation menu on your left, and you'll be able to message your teacher directly, and they will be able to return your message promptly.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. My name is Rick Coughlin, Technology Integration Specialist as well. And I'm going to go over a little bit about Zoom, some very important information as it relates to Chromebooks, as well as signing in through a iOS device like an iPhone or an iPad. Most critically, students must log in to their Zoom accounts using their P-CCS issued Google username and password by using the Google SSO or single sign-on button that they find on all of the Zoom login pages. That would be either if you're accessing Zoom through zoom.us, we recommend you log into that as well. But on a Chromebook, we're going to go through a little bit of what it looks like first. So here on this first slide, you'll see an example of a Chromebook, of course, but most critically, when you open up that app on the Chromebook, you need to sign in. And so clicking on the sign in button is the first step to this process. So therefore, number one, and we can move on to the next slide. So once you click the sign in tab on the Chromebook app, you're going to see a sign in with Google button. That's the step two that you want to make sure you take care of. There will arise difficulties if this isn't followed. This process isn't followed. So we can go to the next slide. Once you tap on or click on the sign in with Google button, you should be prompted with a sign in with Google prompt screen. You'll either see this, or if the device is already signed in to Google, depending on whether you're on a Chromebook or Chrome, you may have to actually type the information in, or you may already see the information there, in which case you'll be able to simply just click on it. In this case, we would type it in and then click next. Once you arrive at that screen, you'll see at the top where the username at p-c-c-s-k12.com and the profile picture would show up at the top of that dialog window, and then enter the P-CCS Google password that's accessible in MyStar for families to see if you need to look up that information. And we can go to the next slide. Once the username and password is put in, this is the screen you'll see on a Chromebook, and you'll confirm that the student is logged in by seeing that their student account profile photo and name is at the top left-hand corner, and it will take you to this screen. At this point, There's nothing else to do since students are going to primarily access Zoom through links in Canvas. This app can be temporarily closed or minimized. However, it is advised if you are having issues with joining a Zoom meeting to make sure that you check back with the app from time to time to confirm that the student is still logged in with the P-CCS K12.com username and password. Clicking on the Zoom links from Canvas will automatically open the Chrome app. So next we're going to go over what this looks like from an iOS device, and I'll just, as a reminder, share that these steps and other directions are located on the Home Learning Hub. There is a page that's completely dedicated to the Zoom app and accessing Zoom via different devices. So depending on the device that you're using, you'll want to find the section on that page that applies to the device that you have. We can go to the next slide. So this is what it would look like on an iOS device, iPhone or iPad. So once the app is opened, you'll see that you can tap on the sign in button, and it will take you to another screen you'll see on the right there. And again, as always, we want to log in using the Google SSO or single sign-on button. So we'll go tap on that, and then we can go to the next slide. Again, much like the Chromebook, you'll see a place to enter a username and then click next. And also it will prompt you to put in your password. If the iPad is already signed into a Google account in some other apps, you may just be prompted to tap on the username that's already there when the dialog window pops up. Again, once you are to this final screen, number 6, you'll see a profile picture of some sort, whatever your child has chosen, at the top left-hand corner. And this is the primary Zoom screen that you should see once logged into Zoom on an iOS device. Again, just like a Chromebook, the links are going to be accessed through Canvas. And so once that link is clicked or tapped in Canvas, the app should open up and just get you right into the meeting, or at least the meeting waiting room. So that is really the end of the section of signing into Zoom via Chromebooks or iOS. We do recommend that if you are using a Windows or Mac device at home, that you actually download the Zoom application. And the link to download those applications, both the iOS app and Mac and Windows, is on the Home Learning Hub. On the Zoom page, you'll find links to all the downloads that you need there if you need to download. It really is the best experience if you're not using an iOS or Chromebook, iOS device or Chromebook, to actually download the app to your Mac or Windows computer. And we can go to the next slide. I think at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mark.
Thanks, Rick. Before I get into Clever, just a couple of notes on Zoom. We do have on the Home Learning Hub page, the Family Tech Resource site, information including technical considerations to have a better Zoom experience. We're aware that in some cases students might be in locations in their house or using the virtual background or doing certain things that might have a performance hit on their video conferencing experience. So just you might want to check out those technical considerations if your student is having difficulty using Zoom, if it's glitching or having challenges at points during the day. Now, regarding Clever, Clever is a service that we've been using for a number of years that allows our students to log in and then from there launch access to a variety of web services and digital subscriptions that the district has. To get to Clever, it will vary on Chromebooks, on Windows, and on Apple computers. You would go through a browser. And typically you'd browse to this link that's listed here, clever.com/in/PCCS. Once there, you're presented with two options. One is to log in with Google, in which case you would click that and submit your student district credentials to get into Clever. The other is for those that are lower elementary students or K2 students, we provide a badge. It looks like a QR code, and that has embedded in it their district credentials for an easier login experience. If they click on the Clever badge sign-in, the web camera on the device is invoked, and they would hold in front of that webcam their QR code to be able to be logged into Clever. And I want to just remind you, those that are viewing, that you're welcome to submit questions. The link to do so is shown below. The next slide is showing once logged in, there are several sections that the student will encounter. At the top of the page, if it's a device that could allow for them to install a Clever extension, they could choose to use it. We don't really push that very much because we find it doesn't add a lot of greater functionality than the access that they would typically enjoy just through going to Clever directly. At the top of the page, they then will find the teacher's page. Some teachers customize their pages with links to other resources they want to call their students' attention to, or highlight or make favorites some of the apps that they will use frequently with their students. Typically though, most students will either scroll or click the hyperlink to go to more apps, and that will take them to the bottom of their landing page. And we'll show you what that looks like in a moment with the next slide. So once they've gone to the bottom of the page where more apps are listed, they will see some collection of icons for apps, and they will vary based on the student's grade level, and in some cases assignments based on even department. So some students will have access to apps that others don't. Many of them are rostered to the students. This is a typical elementary student's general baseline set of apps. Includes BrainPop, BrainPop Junior, Seesaw, Epic, iExcel, and some others you can see. When they click on one of those apps, it then logs them into that particular service or subscription. So it's an easy way for them to get to multiple locations, many of which we pay subscriptions for. So they want to go through Clever to do that. The teachers, when they go in, they actually have access in their Clever to the teacher consoles for these various web services and subscriptions. But this is what it looks like on a Chromebook or on a Windows or Mac device. And we'll go to the next slide. On a iOS device, so an Apple, typically our iPads, and they're often deployed at our lower elementary. There actually are two icons on Clever. You can use either one. They do slightly different things, but both of them will eventually alert or allow the student to access their Clever login. One invokes the badge service more readily, but you would click on Clever and then you'd say click login, and then if you would click to the next slide, once you're logged in, using either your credentials, signing with Google, or your Clever badges, the next slide would show you that you're going to look at a very similar experience where, again, the pages are showing of your teachers, and then typically then you're going to mostly go down to the bottom of that landing page to the apps that you're being asked to access. And then let's move to this, and I'll turn this over.
So in addition to going through just how to access some of the common applications, we recognize that there's additional support that's going to be needed. So it's been mentioned a few times already in this presentation about the Home Learning Hub. This is a website that we created starting in March of last school year, where families can access the resources around Canvas, Zoom, and many other applications just to get started and basic steps that need to be taken in order to navigate those applications. So we encourage you to take a look at that. And then also there's the Plymouth Canton Community Schools knowledge base, which has some basic troubleshooting tips. And I'll actually show you a screenshot from each one of these. So the Home Learning Hub, this is a screenshot of just a portion of the Canvas page. And you can see that there's a video that provides an overview for students of how to navigate Canvas. There's some basics with getting started and what browsers to use and how you can use Canvas on a mobile device. There's much more on this page, as well as on the left-hand side, you can see the other pages that are available through the Home Learning Hub. And this is a website that we continue to develop and add to every single week. So we encourage families to look at this. So we have the link at the top. I just want to emphasize that it's links.pccsk12.com/HLH, which stands for Home Learning Hub. And then the knowledge base, this is something that's more, I would say it's relatively new. This is a place that we created to help troubleshoot some common issues. So rather than having you needing to reach out to us and then we respond with how to address an issue, we've tried to put the common issues in one place where you can go to and try to find an answer to your question before you even have to ask it of us. And so the link to this knowledge base is links.pccsk12.com/help. And you can see there's several different categories here, including Chromebooks and Canvas, Zoom, iPads, even just information about how to participate in the take-home program for Chromebooks and iPads, as well as some general help. So we encourage families to look at this page in order to access some of those common issues and resolutions to those issues. And on that page, you'll also find an ability to submit a request to us. But the recommendation that we have for families and students, if they need technical support beyond what's in the knowledge base or what's available through the Home Learning Hub, we encourage them to contact their school's technology support team. And there's a link to this, which is links.pccsk12.com/community tech support. And again, you might be writing this down, but I mentioned before that we have links to the slide deck in the slide deck itself. So if you look at the bottom left corner of this slide deck, you can see the link to this slide deck is links.pccsk12.com/CTSW20. So if you go to that link, then you'll have access to this entire slide deck as well as all of the links contained within it. So going back to that community technology support, I'm going to go to the next slide that shows you what those emails are. But I do want to emphasize that when you do contact us, please make sure that you include your student's name and ID number. This is really helpful for us so we know who the student is that's having an issue, and it will help us try to resolve the problem before we have to contact you about it in order to follow up. And just an FYI, we do our best to respond to tickets as soon as we are able. We actually have 3 tiers of support that work within the community technology support. The first tier, we have gotten to a place now where we are able to review tickets the day that they come in, so the same day. And if it's something that our tier 1 support can handle, they will respond that same day. However, if it's something that they need to pass on to tier 2, that may be responded to the same day, but more likely will not be until the following day. We're doing our best to improve those times, but just want to give an FYI for everyone. If it needs to go to tier 3, that may take even longer. And I apologize for how long it might take. But if it gets to tier 3, that's an indication that this is a more complex issue that's going to take some time and effort to resolve. So we do our best to respond to tickets as soon as possible. We have multiple tiers of support, and just know that we are working our best to address these issues. I will also emphasize that this is still the best place to get support. We do encourage students to talk to their teachers about any problems that they face, because it might be something related to how the teacher has shared something, and those are issues that we won't be able to resolve within the community technology support portal. But if the teacher's not able to assist, then please reach out to us. And as I mentioned, we have emails for each school, so you can look at your school here and see the email for that school. So if you are a student at Gallimore, for example, you would just email gallimore.technology@pccsk12.com, include your student's name and student ID number, and then share with us the issue that is going on. And then I'm going to pass it on to Matt Smoot, who's going to help moderate our Q&A session.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. If you haven't already done so, please make sure you share your questions using the link below, links.pccsk12.com/questions. We're going to respond to as many questions as we're able to during this webinar and during this time. If your question is not answered in this webinar, please feel free to contact your school technology support team that you had mentioned in the previous slide. Looking at our Q&A, we actually only have one question from Jessica Ford. So thank you, Jessica, for this question. And the question is, I can see my daughter's grades in two places, Canvas and MyStar. The grades are vastly different. Which is accurate? So the default is going to be MyStar. The MyStar is going to be your default for the grades. As the teacher can actually distinguish whether or not an assignment syncs to MyStar or not. So the grade will be different in Canvas in that they might not have synced that particular assignment to MyStar.
I would add, our staff are learning and developing a greater familiarity and facility with Canvas, and so some of this is a learning experience for all of us. But I would suggest that if there is a disparity or something of wonder that you have, by all means feel free to reach out through email to the teacher or teachers of your student to ask them all of their contact information in terms of, you can send an email to any staff member using the staff directory on the district website. So if you don't know your teacher's email address, feel very free, but also to alert you inside of Canvas, the students can all click on the left-hand side. There's a help button that allows them to ask their instructor a question that's directed just to their instructor. And they could, if they were comfortable, they could say, hey, could you explain to me why I'm seeing something different in Canvas in the grading area than I would see in MyStar. MyStar, as was mentioned, is going to be our formal and definitive at the end of each quarter and term or trimester, depending on your grade level. But we do allow our staff to make adjustments as to what is going to be passed from their Canvas grading. And it's best if you have questions about individual grades or assignments for you or your student to reach out to the teacher in question to ask them. I don't know if anybody else has other sharing.
I just want to add, related to that question, I do know that there are teachers that do activities outside of Canvas, and therefore they won't be included in the Canvas gradebook. So that's just another reason why MyStar is the place that you should be looking for your students' grades.
I will also add that through the inbox through Canvas, you as a parent can go into that particular course, and then by clicking on the inbox, you'll be able to message the teacher directly.
So if there are other questions, feel very free to submit them. And if not, we really do appreciate everybody's time. We hope that this has been helpful as a broad review, perhaps a little belated, but we're hopeful that even still it's of help for you and others that might view this later. We will be having additional sessions. Tonight there'll be another session starting at 6 o'clock. And then tomorrow, 12 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the evening, and then Friday at 2 o'clock. We're very open to hearing more from folks through this forum. And if you have other wonders, as was mentioned, write to the building.technology email address for the support in question. I'm not certain if there's anything else that anybody else would like to contribute. I'm seeing no. So again, thank you all for your interest, and we hope that this was helpful. And we look forward to continuing to work with your student and your family in support of the successful learning that happens here in Plymouth Can, where we are making every effort. Thank you.